Hello again. Nice to have you at the second workshop. Let's see how much participants we have. Okay, 18. I hope you managed to install Microsoft SQL Server 2019. For those who haven't done it, we will solve this problem today because tomorrow we will use it much more. Today we'll write some queries, simple queries. So you will be able to resume it tomorrow. So let's see what we will talk today. Today we will talk about naming conventions, data definition language, data manipulation language, data query language commands, null value, character operator, column alias, and SP help procedure. It's an interesting procedure in Microsoft SQL Server. So let's go to the naming conventions. As you can see, names of database objects can contain alphanumeric characters and must begin with an alphabet or an underscore. So SQL Server defines a set of rules for naming SQL Server objects called naming conventions, but also give the user to follow our preferred style. So you will choose how to name all the objects, all the tables, all the columns, all the indexes, and so on. It is advisable to follow the single naming convention for all database objects. So if you use one type of naming, you use all this naming in your database. Don't have one style for a table, let's say, for the columns, another style, and so on. As I said, names of database objects can contain alphanumeric characters. Alphanumeric characters are all the letters from A to Z, numbers 0 to 9, and some symbols. By default, SQL Server is not case sensitive. Case sensitivity is determined by the settings of a database in which the object is created. By default, as I said, SQL Server is not case sensitive. In contrast, the Oracle database, it's case sensitive. So you can write other uppercase or lowercase, it will be the same. Avoid quotes while naming a database object because they have a different let's say, purpose. Useful English words. Okay, if you write in English, you can use full English words. Instead, you can choose any other language you prefer, let's say Romanian, and avoid abbreviation. If it's date of birth, then you write the date of birth, like the whole word. Object names can contain numbers, number sign, $sign, 8, but avoid using them. Certain symbols at the beginning of an object name have special significations in SQL Server, some procedures, some constraints, and so on. Embedded spaces or special characters are not allowed. A name that starts with at denotes a local variable or parameter. A name that begins with number sign denotes a temporary table or procedure. A name that starts with a double number sign denotes a global temporary object. Microsoft doesn't recommend you to use one number sign or double number sign to begin an object name. So some transact SQL functions, function names start with double at signs. The object name should not be a transact SQL reserved word. SQL Server reserves both lowercase and uppercase version of reserved words. Some system procedures and functions are given prefixes like SP, XP, or DT to signify that they are system objects. So it's better to avoid using these prefixes while creating database objects. There are a few commonly accepted styles to name a table, a column in a database. It can be a lowercase, it can be an uppercase. You can use Pascal case or camel case. Avoid using spaces between words for table names and columns, as they will require square brackets and confuse scripts and procedures. Instead, use an underscore for joining multiple words. If a table represents a real word entity that use use nouns to name the table. If we talk about students, we will use student in order to store all the information about the students. Table names should be less than 126 characters. For table names, you can use either singular or plural. For example, you can use employee or employees. It's your choice. Avoid using prefixes like TBL for table names. It's a preserved prefix. While name that column first name, if you store the address, use address, and email, phone, and so on. Avoid using words that are just data types like text or date. Let's see this beautiful diagram. For a better understanding of SQL commands, we have a diagram. Let's say it's a diagram which lists the commands for every category. As I said in the previous workshop, we have 5 categories of commands. As you can see, data definition language has create, has drop, has alter, and has truncate. Data manipulation language has insert, update, delete. Transact control language has commit, save point, rollback. Data query language has only select. Data control language has grant and revoke. Now, as I said, we will talk only about data definition language, data manipulation language, and data query language. Let's see the structure of each command and for what it is used. Let's begin with data definition language commands. So just to remind you, data definition language changes the structure of a table, like creating a table, deleting a table, altering, like modifying the table, and truncating the table. The difference between drop and truncate, I will explain it later. All the commands of data definition language are auto-committed. That means that it permanently saves all the changes in the database. So now let's pass through them one by one. So create is used to create a new table in the database. Create table, we specify the name of the table, and if we for the column names, we open the brackets and we will specify the column name, the data type, and after it we can indicate some, let's say, some constraints like unique, primary key, and so on. Drop is used to delete both the structure and record stored in the table. So remember, drop, it's used for deleting all the rows and also the structure. Why you have to remember it? Because when we will arrive at truncate, you'll understand better why I said so. Also, we can drop a database object like a view, a constraint, or anything else, a transaction. I don't know for transactions. Okay. Alter is used to alter the structure of a database. This change could be either to modify the characteristic of an existing attribute, or probably to add a new attribute. So if you look at the syntax here, we have alter table, the table name, add, we can add a new column and specify the column definition. We specify mandatory, we specify the data type of the column. And then we can add, for example, check country it's equal to Moldova or something like this. A constraint we also. Also, we can change a column. For example, we have a column and the phone number which has not an appropriate data type. Therefore, in order to change that data type, we write the same query: alter table, table name, alter column. And for the phone, we specify, for example, a string, a char, yes, a char. Alter table, table name, drop column, column name. In order to delete, we have only to specify the column name, not with a definition, like with the data type and other important information about it. And truncate. Truncate is used to delete all the rows from the table and to free the space containing the table. So truncate and drop, what are the difference between them? Truncate is normally ultra fast, ideal for cleaning out data from a temporary table. It saves the structure of the table for future use. But drop deletes the entire table with its data and definitions of the table. This command can be cancelled. Therefore, you should be very careful if you decide to do it. So drop deletes everything, truncate leaves the scheme, let's say, of the table. Let's move next to data manipulation language. Again, to remind you, data manipulation language commands are used to modify the database. It is responsible for all form of changes in the database. The command of data manipulation language is not auto-committed. That means it can permanently save all the changes in the database. So the data manipulation commands are insert. Insert is a SQL query which is used to insert data into the row of a table. By the way, you can copy the data from a table and to insert it in a second table. It is used in the following way. In order to add some rows in a table, we specify the following way: insert into table name, the column which we want to fill with new records, and values. Also, if we don't mention these columns, it respects by default the structure. Let's say first it's ID, name, first name, last name, and phone number. If you want to specify in brackets this, let's say, not range, but this order, then it by default fills this value. So be careful. If you know so good the structure, you cannot specify. But if you want to add only, for example, 2 out of 5 columns you want to fill with some records, you will specify the columns. I said that you can copy one table and some data from a table into another. For example, you have a table with 10 columns and you want only 5 to copy in another table. So this is very simple. You can write insert into, you write the first table, and after it you perform a data query language command called select. I will mention that you will write in the same way: insert into table name, and you write select and what you select from the second table. Actually, for those who know, you can do an insert into and a select. That's it. Moving next to update. Update is used to update or modify the value of a column in the table. So if we had here alter table, alter we will use to modify the column, but for update with update we modify the value. So it's pretty intuitive. Update the table name and set the column name. Let's say we will change the age from 25 to 23. Will be very easy. So set column name will be age, value equal to 21, 23, what you want. And the where condition about where clause we will talk a bit later. So just you have to know this structure. And the last one, delete. Delete is used to remove one or more rows from a table. So to drop the entire table, you use truncate to drop, or if you want to delete the rows, then truncate. But if you want to delete, for example, all the people who have 25 years old, you delete from table where age is equal to 25. Let's move next to the most complex, I think, command, which will be very, very used. At least my workshops, you will use it a lot. We have data query language. Data query language is used to fetch to obtain the data from the database. It uses only one command, as you can see, only the select. Select is the same as the projection operation of relational algebra, for those who are who knows about relational algebra. It is used to select the attribute based on the condition described by the where clause. If we look at the syntax, we have the select clause, the all or distinct. All requires to include all the records which satisfy the selection criteria. Select all or just select without this. It's practically the same, and this rarely used. The distinct requires to get rid of duplicates, therefore showing only unique values. The from clause specifies from which table or tables we would like to select certain information, and the where clause is an optional clause. As you can see, it is in square brackets. Here also all in distinct, it's in square brackets. So where clause, it's an optional clause used to filter the records returned by select. Now I sent you a link in Discord with a long script. It's a script to install, let's say, a database. In order to not lose time to write our own queries to do it, I think this will be much more easy, and it also will be helpful for your next workshop. As I talk with the mentors and we established that we will use the same database. So let me present you some short information about every table. We have the course table. We will use it. So here we have the course ID, the title, the credits, the department. We have the department. Here we have the department ID, name, budget, start date, and administrator. The online course, okay, we have a course ID and a URL. We won't use, I prepare some queries, and here this table we didn't use in my queries. So the office assignment, we have instructor ID, the location, and timestamp. Moving next to on-site course, the course ID, location, days when these courses take place, and time. The student grade, so the course, the student grade, and the person will be the most frequently used tables, as they have a lot of information that gives you the opportunity to write nice queries and useful in order to understand much better the information. So the student grade has an enrollment ID, which is a primary key for this table, the course ID, which is a foreign key for the table course. Okay, now we test some knowledge from the previous workshop, we have the student ID. Again, it's a student ID. Again, it's a foreign key for the person, and the grade. Well, here in the person, we have students and instructors in the same place. As you can see here, we have a discriminator. So we have the ID of the person, the last name, the first name, the higher date. A lot of null values. These null values mean that this person isn't hired, therefore it is enrolled, therefore it is a student. Yes, null, not null, and student. It's quite intuitive, and I prepare the schema. Okay, I don't know why it is in such a bad quality, but I think it's understandable. And these keys, as you can see, for those who are familiar with databases, and they might understand from this schema a lot of information, but I will explain you shortly. We have a key and we have a specific symbol, let's say. This means that one person, like it's one, and this sign means more like there's a relation. Also in database we have relationships, and here's a relation of one to many. Like one person has many courses. So or a better example will be this okay, student grade and course. At the course, a student can have not only one mark grade, but talking about online course and course, there's only one URL for only one course. A course has a unique URL, let's say, and this is the main idea. Okay, now we will switch to our Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio, and we will write some queries in order to understand. First of it, let's do it. Let's install that. As I said, that database. So let me show you. You go to that link, and you will copy. Okay, you copy it. Then you open a new query and write the following database, create. Okay, I will create database. Let's give it a name. I used already school, but I will use school one, but you can and you write the following: use school one, and then you paste all the information that you copied. So here, if we can pass it very quickly, create the department table. As I said, we create the table, and in the round brackets we specify the name of the okay, the department ID, the column name, the data type, and in this example it used the not null constraint, and so on. There are a lot of constraints. Here's how it is named: the constraint, primary key, and the name. So I hope you've done it, but first we will let's execute. It will execute sequentially everything. Now we use school. Be sure that you specify here the database which you are working at. So we will perform a simple select from let's say from person. Here we can see our table. It's a simple select. With this star we select all the columns. Now we can specify which columns we would like to select. We select the last name and first name. from the name of database should be school. Okay. Sorry, just I had on already one and I said to drop it and to do it once again, but I forgot. Sorry, but I hope you managed to do it. So with talking about select, we can select all the rows by using a star. We can all the columns. We can select only specific columns in the following way. I mentioned that we have select all. Let's say first name from person. Execute. Okay. Take a look at the number of rows. We have here 34 rows. If we write select first name from person, it's the same. Like if we select this one, we can see that here we have 34 rows. But if we write distinct, now we run it, and look what we have 27 rows. Actually, so we have here 7 duplicates. Now let's do another thing. Let's again play with the select, where it will be very nice to see. Again, let's run this, and here we have like this, the discriminator. As we can see, the table has not so many rows, and it's quite intuitive to know how much rows we have. So we'll write the select distinct discriminator. From person, and if we will run, we will see that we have only 2 discriminators. And let's say like we can write, we can select the information from another table, from course. It's not so complicated with select, and we have course ID, credits, and the part, and so on. Now let's go back to our presentation, and we will talk now about null value. In terms of the relational database model, a null value indicates an unknown value. Null value, unknown value. If we widen this theoretical explanation, the null value points to an unknown value, but this unknown value is not equivalent to 0 or a field that contains spaces. Due to the structure of the null values, it is not possible to use traditional comparison like equal, less, greater, and not equal operators in the queries. For this reason, working with null values might be a bit complicated, and are required to use some certain built-in functions which are customized for handling null values. We have the isNull. The isNull condition is used to return rows that contain the null values in a column, and its syntax is like this. It's like in the slide. There is not null condition is used to return the rows that contain not null values. So if we want to check the null, we will write is null. If we want to check not null, not null. Going back to our going back to our here, we can go to let's write another select all from from a person. I will write a more specific select where we use the where condition, but we will study this clause soon, where higher date is not null. Pretty easy. Let's run it. And here you can see that higher date is not null. And the same, it's not null where it is where it has values, not missing values. Let's say. Okay. Like yes. Let's go back. So it is not equivalent to a 0 or a field that contains spaces. The next one is a character operator. As I mentioned at the beginning of our second workshop, we will recap this topic with a character operator because it will help us to understand the importance of another topic. So the concatenation operator is used to add 2 or more strings together. Let's say we would like to concatenate the first name and the last name of a person in order to get the full name. Obviously, we put a space between them. Here's the space, but there is a little problem. We don't have a column name. Oh, our problem, how to solve it. In Oracle, it is much simpler because the column name usually, not usually, every time is the name of the instructions you specify. So in order to solve this problem, let's say it's a problem, we don't have a column name, and when we have so many records or operations, for us will be confusing what happened here. Here come the aliases. Let's look at them. What is alias? A column alias, and SQL aliases are used to give a table or a column in a table a temporary name. Aliases are often used to make column names more readable. It exists only for the duration of a query, and in order to create it, we use an as keyword. But it is optional. It was recommended to not use spaces in the column naming, but if you would like to write an alias with spaces or special characters, it requires quotation. So now let's go back to our Microsoft Management Studio. And we will write some queries. We will resume some operators, some mathematical operators, some aliases, and we'll combine everything to understand it better. Let's do it the following way. Let's write a select. Let's write select credits, and let's do a mathematical operation, credits +2. And here we will use, okay, from course, let's say, from course. Now, if we run this, what we can see, we have a no column name. In order to give it a name, we will write as, let's say, okay, not credits +2. Yes, credits +2. Now, if we run, we get the following. We can use double quotation, we can use single quotation marks. It's up to you. Also here, if we remove them, more probably this plus would not be, yes, because it's a special symbol, let's say, and it makes some problems when you're running this code. Let's try another. Let's, okay, that's better to copy this query. We'll copy and paste. And now let's perform some mathematical operations. For us, it's not so much important that numbers, but how it is applied. Okay, it's free. Then and also I would like to mention that the order of credits, the order of operations, it's the same like in mathematics uses. Now we will see. Okay, and free. So if we run, we get different values. Actually, it respects. Now, talking about null values, I demonstrate you that now, where is it? Here we have select where higher that it's not null. But I would like to mention also where that we can't really perform some operations. We can perform some operations to null if we make a select. If we write a select grade and grade divided by null. Take a look at this interesting operation from from student grade, and take a look what will happen. Okay, let's first let's do this thing. Let's select it. We get null values. If we divide to a null value, we get null values. So this is what is happening. I don't know why. If we add null, I don't think this will happen. So I think, okay, it's the same. It's a magic, this null value. And it's complicated to handle them, also, how I mentioned. Moving next to aliases, we can, aliases can be written in different forms. So we have, for example, select, grade, let's say we would like to measure the grade for those who said that it's magic, we will measure the grade with 1 point, and from student grade. Okay, now as I said, if we execute it, we got no column name. What a problem. We use aliases. We can give analysis in different methods. Let's show you. We can write as, and we specify new grade. For example, here we use the space. Yes, it's a temporary name, like for one query, you can use spaces. But the same can be done in the following way. Let's say we give an appropriate name. New grade. And if we run new grade, okay. But we can, this S is optional, and quite everything can be done without it. Practically everything. Here we can delete it too, and it will understand what he has to do. So this alias, it's not so complicated. It helps you to understand what you did, what kind of magic you did, and why the results are so. The concatenation operator, let's try to use it to, for example, select the last name plus a space, how I presented in the slides, and the first name. And we write this as, okay, we don't need this. And we don't need this though. Full name. As you can see, full, it is not, and from person. You can write and you can run as many operations queries you want. Let's run it. So here we have, okay, you asked me about operations. We can select 2 of them, and also we can select all of them. And what you get here, guys, you get here all the operations, and the order is the same as you run. That's why I select only 1 row, only 2-3 rows of the query when I'm running it, because I would like to show only what I did last. But you can see, for comparisons, you can select 2 queries and to see the differences between them. Okay, there is a problem that, for example, we would like to, let's go to another table. Let's go to course, select all from course, and here we have the title, credits, and this concatenation operator, that's why I selected it. And now we'd like to select, for example, the calculus and how many credits it has. Select the title. And let's say we don't need some many information and a space and the number of credits. What will happen here? Good, because credits is another type of it's a numeric data type, and here you can see that we have to convert string in order to print it. Practically the same. That was what I wanted, but I will answer the question of Eusebio in the next. Okay, here is the problem. Eusebio got a problem. How to see all the names of the tables from our database. So in this moment of your life comes a special procedure, which I thought it must be included. It's a help. So SP help is a part of a database engine stored procedures, which returns information about a database object or a database type or a data type. So SP help stored procedure is very helpful in many ways. As yes, it's a party time. SP help stored procedure is very helpful in many ways, as returns all the information of a database object or data types. So you can quickly check any table structure, number of columns, either in indexes, constraints, and so on. You can check function information. Also, you can check any data type information. SP help command is the best way to get answers of all these questions in the easiest way. If you execute SP help without any parameter, then it returns you information of objects of all type that exist in the current database. Suppose you want to see information about person table, when you need to pass table name. So let's first let's write the following. Let's write SP help, and we have school. So okay, we have the person. Okay, everything about person, but without parameters. Let's run it without parameters. Yes, everything. So without parameters, it gives you all the names of the tables. How I showed you in that. Okay, we have here tables. We have here stored procedures. We have some queues. Okay, some object primary keys. You can see how it is named. I don't know if it is well seen in my screen, but I hope yes, it is well seen. We have special naming in primary keys. We have PK and the name of the primary key, and here we have the department and so on. We have internal table. We have foreign keys. We have views. All these objects, and very, as you can see, there is a lot stored procedure and assembly stored. Okay, assembly stored, aggregate functions and so on. As I passed here a parameter, let's say person. If we run this, we receive the information about this table. We have the column name, last name, first name, hire date, enrollment date, discriminator, if it is computed or not, its length, what type of data type it is. So if you, for example, you receive a new database and you would like to understand how it is, what happened, what's happening here, what data types, what information we have here, it's enough to write as SP help, and it gives you a lot of information. And here have the constraints and so on. Let's say we forgot about date time. Okay, what's with this data type? So it's a data type, it's the length, it's the precision scale, nullable, default, and a lot of information that can give you. I haven't tried if an aggregate function. Maybe it can help me. Okay, aggregate function doesn't really work. So this is quite the same. This is quite all that I wanted to tell to you.